Most of the people start learning identity and access management the wrong way. They jump straight into tools like SailPoint. In this session, we will focus on what you should understand first. Hello everyone and welcome to IAM for Beginners. I'm really happy to have you here for this session on SailPoint Explained. If you're new to IAM or if SailPoint has felt confusing till now, you are in the right place. In this session, we will be talking about IAM, identity governance and SailPoint. We will try to break it into simple and practical concepts that actually make sense in the daily life. Quick note before we start, I am sharing this recording for your learning purposes. Watch it at your pace, pause it when needed, and come back anytime. Comment your questions if you have any doubts. If this kind of beginner-friendly IAM concepts helps you, you can subscribe to this channel and follow IAM for Beginners on other social media platforms as well. All right, let's jump into the session. Over to you, Shivraj.
Thank you so much, Jayesh. Thank you so much for your quick introduction and setting up the stage. Hello, everyone. Thank you. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining and taking your time on a weekend and making yourself available for this session. So I really appreciate every one of you for the same. Thank you so much. So, so my name is Shivraj Chattanavar, and I'm currently working as an senior associate consultant and I completed my engineering on computer science and engineering. I'm being a huge techno buff, so my interest goes on technology and cybersecurity in particular. So as I graduated, my career itself has started in IAM, specifically on SailPoint. Uh, where when you talk about SailPoint, or when you just graduated and join in a domain where you talk about SailPoint, cyber attacks, or the attacks happening on identity security. So being like I mentioned, a techno buff, so this drives me to my dream, where a dream domain, to be precise, right? So like you seen on my screen, right? So I'm a person who always loves to dive into the complex problems and simplify them, and I love to simplify those problems and provide an approach which would be more feasible and in this particular cybersecurity or an IAM domain, these would be the attacks or these risks, whatever you mentioned, are very common, and those are infinite. So it cannot be it can just be mitigated, or we should provide an approach where those can be reduced, right? So apart from this, in my leisure time, I play cricket and I'm a musician, and I'm fond of writing quotes, small quotes, and I'm also a family man too. So so if you see my last point over here, so I always mentioned on all my slides, telling that the life which we are leading will be someone else's dream. So we should not just live it. We should not just lead it. We should actually live it to the fullest, right? So this is about me on a brief, and I would so in this agenda, I will cover we'll cover such as agenda. We'll cover these topics, right? So we will talk on the basics of what is cybersecurity actually, and what is IAM on a high level, to start with the basic, and cover what are the available top IAM tools, IAM solutions that are currently going on in the market, and later we'll dive into specifically to talk about SailPoint, and we'll get to know about what is SailPoint, and what are the core terminologies that are going around in SailPoint, what we need to understand from SailPoint, and what are the products that SailPoint offers, be it IIQ or Identity Security Cloud. We'll also touch on the architecture part of each of those products, and then we will compare, like so now after we get into the architectures of it, so we'll compare the comparison between the IIQ and ISC, and then there is a big question across the industries that when to use what, when to use IAQ and when to use Identity Security Cloud, that is ISC. And we'll also go to at last at the conclusion part of it. At the later part, we'll also see what's the future of IAM and how secure are we taking this IAM as a career, rather. And to start with, how do we start with? Actually, like the session would be a beginner to intermediate level, where we will touch on if anyone wanted to switch to a career where they want to take up, or they want to take their time and switch their careers into SailPoint and want to pursue their career. And if there is a fresher who wants to who are starting their career in SailPoint, so how do they start, right? So I'll also be providing some links to that to start their career with. And lastly, of course, we'll be diving into some Q&A to discuss our questions. All right. Right. So when I say cybersecurity, so this cybersecurity in IAM, cybersecurity, and in cybersecurity, we'll talk about IAM. IAM, as an acronym, so it goes by Identity and Access Management, right? So the name itself goes, right, identity. Identities are you can just consider it an identity for a user or a person, and their accesses, right? Any user who are working in an, or an employee who are working in an any organization, they'll be employees and they'll be having some accesses. So there should be some tool to manage these things, right? So things, because there are thousands of people who will be working in an organization, and there should be one centralized tool which manages their access along with their accounts of the users, right? So that's where the IAM hops in and tells that what maintaining their identities and having the right person having the right access at the right time is where managing those things would be humanly impossible. So that's where IAM jumps in, right? So and in IAM we have three major categories. One is IGA, which is identity governance and administration, and we also talk about there's also a domain called access management, and one more thing is which comes as the PAM, is what we call, like privileged access management, right? So these are three big pillars of IAM, I would say. And to jump into IGA, so this in this particular session we'll dive into IGA mainly, and then we'll just on briefly we'll touch upon access management, and then maybe in the upcoming session, if planned, we'll talk about the PAM as well, right? So yes, so on this PAM, we understand like what PAM is and why PAM is required. No, sorry, why IAM is required, right? So to implement this identity and access management, so there are various top tools which is available in the market. For example, if you see on the screen, so you see like a number of number of tools, or the IAM solutions, what we call, in which IAM can be implemented. So these are one of the top tools that are being ruled in the market, I would say. We have SailPoint, we have Okta, ForgeRock, CyberArk, everything, right? So you mentioned, and we have such many tools and solutions where these are all identity and access managing tools, right? So in these many tools, we would say in this session we'll talk about SailPoint. So why organizations prefer SailPoint as their identity and access management tool, right? So this is, see, any organization, if I have an organization and I'd be having thousands of employees in my organization, right? So, and if there are thousands of employees in my working in my organization, I would be having all those thousands of records in my HR system, and there will be multiple departments in my organization, and there will be various hierarchy level within those employees or the users, what we call, and handling these many access. And for example, if any new joiner joins to my organization, or if any mover happens within my organization, or if any user leaves my organization, so to handle these events within my organization, I need a such a tool where the security of these users along with their accesses should be managed and maintained in a feasible cost, as well as user-friendly maintenance, right? And so that's where SailPoint offers us raises its hand, and it's being the top IAM identity security solution in the current market. This SailPoint supports both on premises as well as the cloud platforms, and it also with the new product like you're seeing on the screen, Identity Now, which is called Identity Security Cloud. It offers strong AI and ML integration and involvement in the SailPoint tool, right? So with that being induced in the SailPoint ISC, it offers help in risks and reporting, as well as the access management of these, right? And also one more important point I would say is that you see that superior zero trust enforcement, right? So this basically all the majority of the organizations, they believe is that they want multiple layers of authentication, multiple layers of security. So that's where no user should be having a single point of authentication, right? So they demand multiple layers of security, because post COVID we are seeing the remote workforce among most of the industries, where so that's where we welcome the cyber attacks as well as the identity security attacks welcome. So that's where we need a very strong and very multi-layered authentication. So that's where no industries want the zeros. They ensure the zero trust of enforcement is implicated. So that's where the SailPoint also supports. So yes, to understand the SailPoint along with both Identity IQ as well as Identity Now, which is now called Identity Service Cloud, to understand this SailPoint, so we need to understand some of the core terminologies that are being spoken in SailPoint language in the IGA or the IAM industries, right? So the first terminologies can be we talk about connectors over here. So connector is something where we need a middleware where we interact or we integrate with a target system from SailPoint, right? So suppose if you have a target system or a target application of a web service application, and you want to integrate that particular application within SailPoint. So you need something that to connect to that application or whatever, right? So to perform your events or to perform anything on that application, if you want to onboard that application, you need some connector over there. You need some middleware over there. So that's where we have connectors that SailPoint gives you, as we have various out-of-the-box connectors which SailPoint gives you. So for if I provide an example, like we have web services connector, where that deals with the web services application, where we can provide some APIs. We can configure those APIs within SailPoint to communicate that with the web service application as a target system, right? So one can be web services. We also have the JDBCs connectors, and we have SAP connectors. And if the target system has a CSV file, right? So where we don't have a specific system over there, just have a CSV file. So where we can go to we have a specific call as delimited connector for that, right? So SailPoint offers a lot of out of the box connectors. Also, it also supports the custom connectors as well. So right, so this is connector on a high level, right? So you might be so I have used this for multiple times right now, right? Like identity. So this identity we call you can relate to that something called kind of a user or a person, a user in a layman language, and then within SailPoint we use that as an identity, right? So Shivraj is an identity in SailPoint, and Jayesh is an identity in SailPoint, right? And when you talk about, we also come across a word called terminology called role, right? Role is something where it's a set of access, is what we can say. Suppose if anyone joins the organization, and he should be granted with some of the accesses, right? What we call he should be assigned, for example, he can be assigned with a birthright access of Outlook. He can be assigned with a access of some Active Directory account, or a group over there, right? So these set of entitlements or the set of permissions or the accesses, we call it as a role, right? And you may also come across a word called workflow. Workflow is something where uh, it's a series of tasks. So you want to perform a task over here, and you give a set of instructions where, okay, if you want to have this something, if something gets triggered, if you observe this, you tell this, you configure such instructions within the SailPoint, where if you see this event occurring, perform these steps and perform this action at the end. So this set of instructions or the task that needs to be performed after that trigger is called a workflow, right? And you may come across a word called certifications in SailPoint, where certifications directly means that it's not the certifications what we claim outside this, right? Like it's not a it's a generic word. Certification is where we complete some courses and we get a certification, a completion certificate, right? So in SailPoint, it's not a certification. Certification is something where we deal with, it's a reviewing or monitoring the access a user is having, right? Suppose if someone tells you from SailPoint that okay, we are performing a certification campaign, we are on a quarterly basis. It's like on quarterly basis they are reviewing their users access, whether a right user is having the right access, right? So that is certification. And correlation is something where uh, a target system is having a user A, and when his identity is created in SailPoint, a user A from target system should be directly matched with a user A of in SailPoint. It should not be like a user A in target system and some other user's identity will be coming up in SailPoint, right? So it should be exactly one-to-one matching between the users. So that's where we call it a correlation. And aggregation is something where you read the data from the target system into SailPoint. It can be users data, it can be groups data, it can be entitlements data, whatever. So reading the data from the target system to SailPoint is called the aggregation. And provisioning is something where you provide certain access. The process of providing the access or assigning the access to the identity is called provisioning. So there are various other terms also. So I mean, these are the daily use terms is what I can say within SailPoint. Okay, some of the common terminologies. So now if we jump into, like I told you, uh, SailPoint offers two products. So one is SailPoint IIQ and one is SailPoint ISC. All right. So this image may look complex, but I'll understand the flow of it, how it runs. Okay, just a high level architecture will understand, right? So for example, if any user joins an organization, so what is the first step they will do? They will enter his user details in their HR data. So HR data, in HR data, what are the user details the HR will capture? It can be he will be created with the employee ID. He'll be having the first names, user first name. He'll be having user's last name, email, user status, etc., etc., etc. So so some of the metadata details of the user will be captured by the HR, right? So once that is captured and the user is yet to be onboarded, so what will happen is it will go, for example, it will go to authoritative source. So basically, authoritative source is something like where a SailPoint can connect to get the right information of the data. An authoritative source, for example, it can be Workday for some of the organizations. So it can be Beeline, it can be anything, any authoritative source where a SailPoint can connect to it and get the information of it, right? Suppose now we have the users details captured by the HR. Now SailPoint connects to it authoritative source, and then it will process the identity. Suppose it will connect to this authoritative source, and it will aggregate the data. It will aggregate the data of a user. It will create its own identity. For example, if a user A is joined within an organization, the user's A identity will be created within within SailPoint, and then his respective metadata details are being read from the target system. When I say metadata, his first name, last name, his employee ID are being read from the target system and are being populated in the SailPoint. So once this identity cube is created within the identity, then what will happen is then his access, his birthright access will be trying to getting provision, right? So birthright access can be anything, depends on the tag, depends on the application. It can be anything. For example, it can be Outlook. So once a user gets his laptop, what access he'll be having? He'll be having some basic right access, right? So he'll be provisioning with Outlook access, or he'll be getting some Active Directory access. Some AD groups will be being provisioned. So once this is done, so once a user is created, once identity is created, and his identity cube is created, and his access is provisioned, then the provisioning will happen. This provisioning is also happened now. The birthright provisioning is also happened. Now, after that, it runs like so in IIQ, like you see here, we have four basic components like compliance manager, lifecycle manager, governance platform, and user provisioning. So we know that lifecycle manager is something where this is a manager where it performs a task where it manages the user events happening across the organization, whether the user is joined, or a user is being promoted, or if a user is being left the organization, what all access he should be removed, how should his status be changed, all of those things, right? So this is the lifecycle manager, and user provisioning is what we're talking about right now, that his access being granted, what all the access are being granted, right? And this compliance manager and governance platform basically tells about the access reviews part, and for the auditing purpose, just like we talked about in our beginning, right? Like that particular user, based on his job level or a department or his hierarchy, he should be having the right access to his account. So that's where this governs the this is for auditing. So that's where these two will be involved. So and yeah, that's a high level architecture on IIQ. So yes, we talked about.
Thanks. Thanks, Shivraj. Uh, I think this is a very much power-packed session that we are having right now. Anybody who is not able to grasp or have any questions or queries or any doubts, please feel free to ask
Yes, yes,
or
please.
park your questions into question and answer sections. You can drop your questions now in the chat window, and if time permits, we will address them now or in the Q&A session, or else I will get back to you with those answers if we run short of time, right? Thank you so much. Please continue, Shivraj. We are
Sure.
doing very good.
Thank you, Jayesh. Yeah, you can we can drop your questions in the chat section, and we'll take it at the last in a Q&A session. Thank you. Right. So we talked about these right now, and so this is about the IIQ. So basically, all these things will the whatever the management of this accesses or the identities will happen on the on-premises, right? So when you come to ISC, so this is the workflow, all the flow of a user across the organization will remain same, right? So here what ISC will do is like it will host, so everything there was happening on a on-premises. In ISC it will happen everything on the cloud, right? So whatever the management of the users or the deployment of the applications or everything, that will happen on the cloud there, right? So here, for example, if the database or whatever the storage will be happening, will be handled by the customer, or on premises for whoever the owner would be. But here on a SailPoint, this would be the flow of this will exactly remain the same of the user management, but the ownership of this will be taken by the SailPoint. And we'll talk about the comparison. And in IC, you have these four components basically. One is access request, where if a user is wants to request for any access, if you want to request for any access, he'll be raising a request, and it can go to certain level of approvals, where if I am in need of any access called A, I request for access A, and it can go for the approval of my manager, and it can go approval of my entitlement owner approval or whatever, right? So after approval, that access will be going getting provision, right? And That would cover this, the automated provisioning. And to perform the provisioning automated, we will be writing this automation may happen automatically based on our workflows, what we write, or based on our rules, or based on the policies what we configure. So based on it, this automation will happen, right? And this policy and compliance will happen to enforce the SOD. SOD is segregation of duties, and users should not be having the elevated access, all of those things. And like I mentioned, this SailPoint also supports AI and analytics that to detect any risks or any anomalies. If a user is having if suppose if a joiner is having a right access to prod of Active Directory, he should not be having. So that's an anomaly, that's a risk. So that's where this AI and analytics we can make use of and mitigate that risk and manage that accordingly, right? So we know that like what we saw the architecture of IIQ now, and we also know like what ISC is on the architecture level, but on generic terms, like how this differs, right? With how ISC is different from IIQ, right? So to start with, like we mentioned, the platform which this IIQ is hosted, is in ISC it is done on cloud, which is a software as a service, a SaaS based, whereas the in IIQ it's on-prem, like we mentioned, it's a customer hosted, or it is being managed on an on-premises, right? And this ownership of IIC is being managed by SailPoint. The whole infrastructure of IIC is being managed by SailPoint, whereas this again comes back to the customer to manage. And the host can be the IQ will be hosting that on an application server. Generally we use Tomcat, right? So that's where on top of that application server the IIQ is being hosted, whereas in ISC is a cloud based. And the important part of here is that the reporting, right? Reporting is important, where in IC we have a specific UI, or the specific dashboard available there over there, where we just provide a query. Suppose if you want a report of how many joiners are available, yeah, only from yesterday, we can just write a query over there, and we can with a click of a mouse you'll be getting the reporting. But whereas in IAQ, of course we can also fetch the reports over there, but it is more DB driven over there, right? So on reporting part, ISC is much feasible or user friendly, so as I would say. And for example, upgrades, right? The upgrades also, IAQ is mainly based on the project based, or a account based, but in ISC, as it is being managed by SailPoint, it happens automatically by SailPoint, right? So I take a pause here. If anyone has any questions, we can take. Anyone? Are we going good, or are we going too fast, too slow? Anything?
The way of onboarding the application, is it the same in terms of an on-prem and that ISC module? The type of the connector supported, is it the same, or we have a difference in this?
Depends on the type of the connector you are using, because like I mentioned, ISA supports many kinds of cloud connectors also, right? And IIQ has only a certain set of connectors which cannot be the process. If you're asking on a technical perspective, of course there's a bit of a difference over there, because in IIC, if you know already, we'll be making use of some transforms or whatever. The process would remain, I mean, slightly different on a technical perspective, but the process would remain same. But say SailPoint IIC offers more cloud connectors also, whereas IIQ doesn't offer cloud connectors.
Okay, thank you, Shivraj.
Shiva, we have a couple of questions in the chat as well, if you are able to access chat.
Sure, let me check. Sure. Any AI component or capability available in IIQ? Dinesh, can you please help me to understand your question? in what perspective you are asking about this? Is it like is AI a component or capability?
Yeah, yeah. So is there any AI component? So in ISC, we have a separate license for AI, right? Similarly, in IIQ, if some customer want to stay back in IIQ itself rather moving to ISC, is there any capability that exists from AI point of view?
Okay, so I would say like organizations only prefer to stay within IIQ if they have a highly complex or a highly customizable requirement. Only then they would prefer staying in. If they have a complex legacy application, so then they would prefer staying back in IIQ, sorry, but because it supports a huge amount of customization or complexities in terms of configurations and everything. Whereas in IIQ, in ISC, it doesn't suppose it doesn't suppose so much customizations. Whereas because it's a newly launched product, I think it's been just 3-4 years it's been into market ISC, so that's where if you have a huge customization requirement, then you'd be staying in IIQ. But in terms of AI, I would say ISC would be more preferable. Ganesh.
In IIQ, we have AI in terms of user behavioral analysis in access reviews, Dinesh, wherein and access reviews and access request approvals. Uh, the SailPoint IIQ also has some AI ML capabilities which can suggest the approver whether to approve or reject any request or any access. So that will be a separate part of the discussion altogether. It will be covered in further deep dive sessions. We'll be covering it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you, Jayesh. So from Shubham, we have let's suppose a user left organization for a particular reason, and his all access get revoked from a particular organization, and after 5 years he's joined again, and then in that situation, how SailPoint will handle? Okay, so Shubham, I think you're so this situation we have a so this is a part of a life cycle event which every organization have. We call this as a rehire scenario, right? A rehire event where in terms of how SailPoint will handle, it depends again based on the requirement. Suppose to your first question, if it's create a new identity, right? So generally depends. Suppose if there is a requirement of he needs to be given. This requirement will be majorly we'll talk to the application teams, and if they want to rehire him as a fresh identity, and then if that is the case, then it will be created a new as a new one. If not, of course, if we take it as a rehire, then again just maybe the login credentials might get deferred, but then those sensitive informations can get deferred. But in terms of access and everything, again that depends on the specific requirement of the application teams. Are we good, Shubham? Did that answer your question? Okay, I assume yes. Is it possible to design workflows in SailPoint such that once an identity is created, Active Directory is provisioned first, followed by Exchange or M365 services, then other application provisioning? It's required for coding knowledge. Manual, yes. This design workflows, right? Once identity is created, ID is provisioned first. Yes, this can be. I think you don't have to require workflow configuration for this, but you can configure in such a way that we can once our identity is created within SailPoint, ID is provisioned first as a birthright, and then Exchange also. And if you think it requires any coding language, no. I think just for if you want just provisioning of these simple provisioning of these identities, then no. is I would say. Just a configuration knowledge of SailPoint would work for this. And if there is any customization, like if you want to check any particular criteria, if you have some criteria for that identity, for example, if you want to provide Active Directory, or if you want to provision M365 access to that user, if you have some criteria, if he belongs to this particular department, or if such any requirements or such any criteria that needs to be checked, then definitely that needs a bit of coding, where we'll be writing those as a rules and being configured. Manuel, are we okay to a question, or does that answer?
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
Thank you.
I think we should move ahead, Shivraj, because interest of the time.
Sure.
And if we are left with some more time at the end, we'll take more questions.
Sure, yes.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much for your questions, guys. It is really helpful for people who are just listening. They are new to this domain. They don't know what questions they should ask. These questions are helping them as well in knowing what are the possibilities, what are the functionalities that SailPoint IIQ and ISC are having as a product. Thank you so much. Please continue, Shivraj.
Thank you. So yes, so like I mentioned, we now on a high level, at least we understood like what is ISC and what is IIQ, and many of us have this question. Okay, when do we use IIQ, or when do we use ISC, right? So just I think I also one of the questions that when do we use IIQ, right? So if you have so IIQ is an older product compared to ISC. ISC is a newly launched product by SailPoint, of course, which supports lesser customization, and which majorly depends on SailPoint for its management across, right? Whereas IIQ if you're having some legacy applications, and if you have some high complex customization that needs to be done, that needs to be configured, so IIQ supports that, whereas ISC doesn't support that. And if you have some policies where we have to strict, because some of the application teams have the policies that to stick within IIQ, only then IIQ will be preferred. But in an ISC, if you want to move, like I mentioned, the deployment, everything is managed by SailPoint, and that also helps in faster rollout, and the cost optimization of the cost also is reasonable when it comes compared to IIQ. The maintenance part of ISC is also compared. So on a whole, this ISC simplifies identity governance through cloud automation, where IIQ provides deep on-prem control for customizations. So this, yes, overall, what I'm saying is like if you have a highly customizable or a complex application or a configuration that is done, IIQ is the best, because ISC doesn't support enough customization. And if you want to switch to ISC, that is reduce your maintenance cost and everything, but doesn't support the customizations as IIQ supports. Okay. So what is the future of IAM now, right? Why people are going into IAM? So what is the future of IAM basically? Where are we tending to? Right. So, for example, after we post our COVID, right, like most of our industries are working remotely, right? And with that uncertain critical situation, we need to operate, but on a remotely basis, right? So that's where we also welcome more identity risks or identity attacks or cyber attacks that would happen if you're working digitally or from a remote workplace. So that's where, but on a technical perspective, working on cloud, working on SaaS also supports AI, right? So that's where we would suggest, I would suggest the future of IAM is moving more into digital and investing much into cloud or SaaS based systems is the future. So of course, regulatory focus on access control and compliance. So if you have some compliance understanding or a mindset of access control or mitigation of it, so that's where we are moving the future. So that's where the future of IAM is into, right? So we are all IAM also is a cloud native IAM, right? Like many of we across the industries, many of the projects we have the migration projects where you have so we have the IIQ and the application teams want to move to ISC now. So a lot of migration projects are also happening just for the management perspective. It is feasible, and optimization of the cost will also be coming handy, right? And we also talked about the zero trust architecture also. And like I mentioned, AI and automation supports ISC on a huge basis, where this access certifications or how we can maintain or ensure the right person having the right access at the right point of time. So this can be automated, bringing a machine learning based machine learning based policies or the models into SailPoint, so that this can be very much precise, right? And like we already talked about the handling this compliance issue based on certifications on the periodic audits. So how about so why do we should choose IAM as a career, and how secure are we choosing IAM as a career or IAM professional, right? So if you see the overall market, when any organization, any software organization, until any software organization exists on earth, there will be a cyber section where the identity risk is always happening, and cyber attacks can happen at any point of time, at any point of year, right? So that organization, or that any particular organization is definitely in need of having a cyber professional or an IAM professional uh, into their organization, right? So handling or managing all the thousands of lakhs of employees would be a difficult choice, right? So the demand is high, but the skill talent of understanding the IAM people are less. The resources less, but they have a high demand of it. And in terms of long term relevance, I mentioned, like until and unless any organization is there, they need a IAM or a cyber or a IAM IGA, the cyber arc. That a security team needs to be there. So that's where we have a long-term career. We cannot it's not like 10 years down the line or 5 years down the line this market would go low, right? So the market is always high, and it has a huge scope in future as well. So if you want to jump into a career where and if you have what are the technical skills or the non-technical skills one should have, right? So if you any IAM tool, for example, if you have a right understanding of SailPoint IIQ and ISC, and if you have a identity lifecycle management knowledge, access certification SODs, and cloud certifications, cloud integrations, I'm sorry, and IAM architecture and security concepts. So to understand all these things, I would in my next slides, I'll be giving you the right place for you to learn and study. So so these are some of the technical skills you would need to build your career in SailPoint or IAM. And if you have some non-technical skills of business understanding and how they think about, how the organizations think about the identity attacks or identity security or the compliance or reporting, right? So that's an add-on, along with if you have a compliance mindset, along with some communication skills with stakeholders, that would help, right? So with this basic knowledge of this, and if anyone decides to pursue their career in SailPoint and wants to understand how do we start, what's the first step? So SailPoint itself offers the platform to understand what SailPoint is. What is if you want to have some courses it offers, it also offers the training paths. You have the courses, you can complete the detailed courses over there, and you can get certified. You have various certifications which SailPoint offers, and I'll provide the links of identity training paths as well as the identity security cloud training paths as well. So it also has the courses within it, the detailed courses. Once you certify those, once you complete those courses, you should be ready for providing the certifications exam. So you have some certifications exam for IIQ as a partitioner certifications, and if you come to ISC, you have the leader credentials, and such so many certifications being are available on SailPoint itself. So yeah, so that will help you to start your career in SailPoint and get your leg in IAM. So thank you so much, team. So that's all. Any questions? I'm open for questions if you have anything. So okay, I have seen a couple of them in my chat. Shubham, please help me with SODs in SailPoint. Okay, SODs in SailPoint. I mean, of course, I'll be just telling you on a high level, Shubham. But of course, you can connect with me one-to-one also to discuss more on a technical perspective. But with SODs, it's a segregation of duties in SailPoint, we would say, where a segregation of duties in the sense like, suppose there's a requirement, a user who is having access A cannot be should not have the access B, and a user who is having access B should not have the access A, right? Such a situation or such a thing is called segregation of duties, where of course you'll be having multiple type of SODs. Also, you have some preventive SOD, you have some detective SOD, where based on your configuration, if a SailPoint encounters that SOD, it will throw you a policy violation, that okay, user is having this particular type, he cannot be provisioned that particular user B, right, the access B, right? So SailPoint has the capability to throw a policy violation, to detect SOD. So on a technical perspective, Shubham, I'm always open for one-to-one. Sure, please connect with me. I'll be happy to help. Okay. Can you tell us how to set up environment for learning, like free sandbox available? I think you'll be having once you on ISC, I'm aware. I think you'll be having a free tenant once you. I think you SailPoint offers something called as white papers, so where you can set up the tenants in your local and work on it. But I'm not sure on IAQ. Jayesh, does SailPoint provides anything for IAQ where we can set up environment on our local
For
systems?
for IIQ, it is limited to the customers.
Okay.
They can have the war file of Identity IQ application, which you can deploy on your local machine on a Tomcat server or any app server of your choice, basically. So uh, I see many of you are interested into further learning on IIQ. How many of us are there who wants to have a deeper understanding at IIQ level, like installation, implementation, and maybe troubleshooting, all those things. 4,
We have a good
5.
count.
Good, good, good. So, though we have already tried to cover many things in this session, but please try to understand 1 hour is not enough to complete in-depth overview of SailPoint. So I will plan and schedule some in-depth working sessions, maybe labs with guys who are interested. You can connect with me personally, or I will share. You might have received one email, confirmation email, while you have registered for this event to follow the WhatsApp community and WhatsApp chat. On that WhatsApp community and WhatsApp channel, you can send me a one-to-one message, and I will form another group in which we will have the deep dive session over SailPoint. Will be installing, will be implementing all the use cases. Maybe we can have some capstone project on all the concepts like aggregation, provisioning, certifications, joiner, mover, levers, all those things. it will be a complete package of hands-on experience. So if you are interested, just let me know after this session, and we'll be having we'll be planning the next session with more in-depth hands-on experiences.
Perfect. Thank you, Jayesh. I see Harish's question. How many job opportunities for IAM testers? IAM testers. I want to continue testing domain. Currently working on security IAM testing project. Yes, Harish. On a testing perspective, testing IAM things, of course, there are opportunities. Testing also helps you to understand the various issues we encounter. Basically, more than development. Development is very restricted to on a configuration part of view, but to understand the issues what we encountered, testing definitely helps. But I would still suggest that explore on development as well. Explore having a knowledge on both development as well as testing. That would really help to enhance your knowledge and on a market perspective as well, right? So having both developmental knowledge, operations knowledge would definitely be an add-on. Sure. Any other questions, team, or are we good? Okay. So I think we are good, Jayesh. So first, feel free to connect to me or Jayesh. We'll be happy to help. And like Jayesh mentioned, of course, the follow-up sessions will be scheduled based on a deeper level of technical discussions. Please reach out to us.
All right. Thank you, Shivraj. Thank you, everyone, so much for joining and staying till the end. I really hope this session helped you to get clear understanding about IAM, IGA, and SailPoint and how these pieces fit together in a real time in organizations. As we have got great response during this session, and many of you are asking for a deep dive session into SailPoint IdentityIQ, we are already working on advanced sessions that will go deeper into the architecture, real project scenarios, and practical understanding. To stay updated, make sure you subscribe to the channel and follow IAM for Beginners on LinkedIn and other social media platforms. If you have any questions, thoughts, or feedback, please drop them in the comments. We do read them and they help us shape the future sessions. Thanks again for your time and support. See you soon in the next session. Bye bye.